Well, hello. This is a follow-up to the 50-liter water heater video I did before. This is it all installed. As you notice, there's some insulation above the top of the tank. There's insulation behind. There's insulation on the left-hand side. I'm going to be doing it on the right-hand side. I didn't do it yet because I'm still getting in there and playing with electronics. But as you can see, I have a nice little digital display. And you probably can't see it, but on the left hand side there's a red light on. On the other side there's a green LED, and that lights up when it's I don't know what they call it, maintain or keep. It's keep. But anyways, this water heater does lose a lot of heat. It loses a lot more than that EcoSmart. This has about twice the insulation, but this one is only 150 bucks shipped, and if you put some insulation around it, it works quite well. And you know, it's working on 60 volts DC on my system. I don't know if you can see this here. See if we can focus this in. Well, anyways, we're at 308 watts. It's 4 o'clock in October, and most of the panels are behind trees. And I just finished a load of dishes, and so that's why it's down to 53. I do have a dishwasher, so given that I can do the dishes and then still have hot water for showers tonight, that's pretty good. It only takes about 2 kilowatts to on average each day to keep this for our low use. And you know, we're not hurting. The garage has its own water heater for the laundry, so but this is all just working off excess power. But these things really need to have added insulation around them because they leak. You can feel the hot spots. On the left hand side there's a switch for 3 heater settings. It's a phony switch. It doesn't connect to anything. There's not even any contacts on the switch. So yeah, I pulled that switch out and cut it apart so it was as low a profile as possible, because they had cut out insulation on the water heater, and so I filled it back up with fiberglass. You know, I'm doing everything I can to keep heat loss to a minimum, because you know, you're at solar and you know, you don't have that much energy. But this has been working. You know, I've been, you know, using it for about 6 weeks, and I thought I was going to have to put this other one in series. This is a 50 liter and that's 13 gallons, but it has satisfied all my needs, and so you know, this thing is spare for now. We will be moving it to the garage maybe, because my other 40-gallon water heater is leaking. But let me go over some of the things about this. They have a flow restrictor here, and this one I tried tightening up on it, and the little brass sections you know, started slipping, so I really couldn't use a threaded connection on this. All the connections are made using flat washers, so basically you have to compress against the face of any fitting. And I do have one of them down there which is connected to, I managed to get a half-inch pipe fitting to hose to make that connection. That's the black hose there, and that fits on, but coming out of the tank it won't fit on to half-inch unless you have like a plastic fitting, and then it takes, you know, a ton of thread wrapped around it and pipe dope. I mean, you do get this hose, and you see it that it's, you know, the hose connects to a half-inch plastic fitting real easily, but you only get one of these, and so if you're moving the hot water out, you'll have to buy something else. And this is a standard one you can get at, you know, Home Depot or anything like that. But the problem with this, and I don't know if you can see it, It has a center post, and literally I have to go in, pull out that washer, and I have to drill out the center, drill out that center brass portion so it fits down using one of the flat washers they supply, because this will not go onto the fittings at all. But you know, it's cheap and it works, and you got that digital display. I had to rewire it, so the digital display works on 12 volts. And let me explain. The other video I have shows a picture of the board. This is the back of the board, and there'll be 3 capacitors, and the stripe on the one side is the negative, and so that connects off to your negative supply. And the 12 volts going in, you know, put a diode in there to protect from reverse voltage. About 180 ohm resistor is needed to drop it down. I have a supply which is filtered and it's clean, so I don't need the Zener, but I would put the Zener in to prevent any spikes that might happen from destroying the regulator on this board. It's just a 5 volt regulator. There's 3 contact pins. One's for this opto isolator, common, and then 5 volts. And there's a, you know, LM, you know, 7805 that regulates it down. So you want to keep it to 9 to 10 volts. Now, also on the board is this opto isolator, and this goes across the heater, and that goes from L1 to neutral. There's also an L that goes to a transformer. You want to absolutely disconnect the L if you're running this on DC, otherwise this transformer will burn up. And you know, this is designed to work on 120 volts, and so for the lower voltage I have 60 volts. And on the side of the board there'll be these 3 resistors and a diode. The middle resistor is a 47K. If you just do a little jumper, solder it to the top. It's a surface mount part, so a little bit of a pain to work with, but you can get in there with a soldering iron and jumper a wire over. So like I say, it has 2 displays for the condition. One is the heat, which is a red one on the left, and on the right is a keep, which is green. And I have a pulse system, so once it drops below like 100 watts, the keep is on. So, you know, 100 watts is just maintaining the heat a little bit. But you have to observe the polarity. You know, the L1 always has to be more positive. And so, yeah, you just L1 and N go across the heater element, depending on how you've wired this up. And it's floating, it's safe, so it's kind of nice. It's nice to have that display because, and the temperature control goes way down below ambient temperature. So, you know, if you're leaving camp or something and you want to set this down really low, you can. A lot of water heaters you can't get below, you know, 90. And of course there's always an offsetting on it, but yeah, you can keep it from freezing. But I found that this is a pretty nice little water heater for a camp. If you add the extra insulation, it's easier to work it with solar. It's about an 8.5 ohm heating element in it. It's a dual heating element, but they're welded together. It's a 600, an 800, and a 1200 wired together, I guess. But that's it. And you know, hope you enjoy watching this. So this will be it for the season. Catch you next year.